The MagicHole is an ongoing work in progress, but it's a super fun smob to use. I absolutely love playing around with this thing. Right above the user prefs is a message telling us that we need to make sure the player tag is included in the tag manager. Just click on the tag drop-down list at the top of the inspector, and if you don't see a player list item, just add it by clicking on the add tag option at the bottom of the list. Let's go over the user prefs. Is activated makes the MagicHole activated. If this option is unchecked, you won't be able to use it. Can be picked up allows us to pick up the MagicHole. If unchecked, we won't be able to pick it up. Can be entered allows us to enter the MagicHole. It's basically the same thing as is activated, but by having both of these options, it just gives you a little more flexibility in what you can do with it. Hole speed determines how fast you can pass through the hole. Next, we have several custom text fields. The first one is no pickup text. It's custom text that will appear on the screen anytime you try to pick it up but are unable to. Not activated text will appear on screen anytime you try to pass through the hole while it's deactivated. No entry text will appear on screen anytime you try to pass through the hole while it's refusing you entry. And then the last one, found text, will appear on screen the first time that the hole is picked up, and only the first time. Next is the do not edit section. It's important that you don't edit this section because you can end up making the MagicHole unusable. However, just in case you do accidentally mess something up in this section, I'll click on each field so that you can see where each object is. That way, if anything is messed up or missing, you can drag the appropriate item back into the corresponding field. The first one is the hole prefab. As I click on it, you can see where the object is in the project folders as it highlights. If yours is missing, then just relocate it and drag it back into this field. Next is the hole tube prefab. Then we have the button prefab. Then we have the MagicHole texture. The next one is the MagicHole placement texture. Then we have the MagicHole bad placement texture. The next section is the interaction section. Interaction type determines what your cursor looks like when you mouse over the MagicHole, but it will only change your cursor if you're using a cursor manager. You can find the cursor manager in the managers folder. Interaction max distance is the maximum distance that you can be from the MagicHole and still interact with it. In this case, it's how far away you can be and still pick it up. Show interaction distance just gives you a visual representation of the interaction distance, but only in the scene view. You actually won't be able to see it during gameplay. Out of range text is custom text that will appear on screen if you try and interact with the MagicHole, but you're too far away from it. We have 5 events for the MagicHole. MagicHole entered happens anytime someone enters into the hole. Picked up happens anytime the hole is picked up. Placed down happens anytime it's placed down. MagicHole activated happens anytime it's activated. And MagicHole deactivated happens anytime it's deactivated. Now for a demonstration. I'm serious, this thing is so fun. I have a simple structure in my scene that's made with 2 cubes. I'll drop a MagicHole in my scene and I'll leave all the settings as they are. I'm not going to change anything. Let's go ahead and click play. The MagicHole can't be used until after it's been discovered and picked up. After it's been picked up, it can be used. When we first walk over it, it says in the right hands this could be very useful. So let's go ahead and pick it up. The magic hole can be placed on just about any surface it can fit on. Let's go ahead and place it right up here on the top of our structure. Now all we need to do is to walk into it. Isn't that cool? We can also pick it back up. Let's place it on the side of our structure now. It's only a one-way hole, so we can't go back through in the other direction. However, we can just pick it back up and then place it back down, and then we can go back through it. Let's go place it on the ramp part of our structure on an angled surface. We'll place it near the top of the ramp to make sure we have enough room for us to actually fall through. Otherwise, we just end up falling through the ground. It doesn't matter how thin or thick the object is that you place it on. Let's create a really, really tall object. I'll create a cube, and then I'll scale it up really big. I'll position it so that it's slightly off the ground. That way we don't go all the way through the ground too. Now we need a way to the top, a way to get up there. For that, I'll use a spring launcher. I'll place the spring launcher over here to the side. Our spring launcher needs a destination, so let's place a GPS point on top of the large cube. If we don't give it a destination, then this little blue line that you see, well, we'll get launched to the end of that line, and we want to be launched to the top of this building. So that's where the GPS point comes in handy. We don't have to use a GPS point, we could use anything, but the GPS point is just nice because we can see it in our screen, in our scene. The GPS point can be found in the utilities folder. I'll just drag it into my scene and drop it on top of the cube, but somewhere near the edge. Now I'll select the spring launcher and then drag the GPS point to the launch destination field. Now when we step on the spring launcher, it will launch us up to the top of the cube. Let's click play and see if we can use the magic hole to go all the way through it. First we'll pick up the magic hole, then we'll run over to the spring launcher, and it takes us right to the top. Now let's test out the magic hole from up here. Doesn't really matter where we put it. Alright, let's do one more thing. Let's change the hole speed to something really small. How about 0.5? Let's use the magic hole to drop through the ground, but only in a specific spot. Now the ground is really thin, it's just a plane. Let's make it so that we can only use the magic hole if we're underneath the first structure. I'll do that by dropping a detection area into my scene, which is in the utilities folder. I'll move it over underneath the structure and I'll scale it so that it fits that area. Now I need to select the magic hole and uncheck the option that says is activated, because we don't want to be able to use it unless we're underneath our structure. Let's also change the custom not activated text. I'll change it to "You can't use that here." Now we need the detection area to activate and deactivate the magic hole. So let's select the detection area and then drag the magic hole to the player entered event and tell it to activate the hole. Let's also drag the magic hole to the player exited event and tell it to deactivate the hole. That should be all we need to do. So let's test it out and see if it all works right.